So today I'm going to be talking about something you have to master if you want physical and emotional change to stick long term, and that is identity. If you are someone listening to this who has dropped fat before, looked a certain way before, felt great before, but you couldn't sustain it, I can almost guarantee it's because you hadn't shifted your identity. Now, what is identity? It's nothing but a bunch of beliefs about who you are, how you see yourself, how you describe yourself, and who you believe others perceive you to be, and you live up to that role. I've been coaching now for a long time, best part of 2 decades. And the biggest thing that gets in the way of someone truly seeing through a full transformation, where they want to look a certain way, feel a certain way, have a certain level of confidence, is identity. How can I say this with so much certainty? Well, I've been coaching a long time. We coach people inside Built to Last over an extended period of time for this reason. All you've demonstrated, or all people have demonstrated, if they've ever been or had periods where they've dropped fat, they've looked great for the summer, looked great for a wedding, looked great for a special occasion, but then fell backwards, all you've demonstrated for that short period is you can stick to a calorie deficit, you can get some steps in, you can train for a certain period of time. If you fell backwards, even though you didn't want to, you hadn't conditioned that identity, that physical identity. You hadn't hardwired that identity into your psyche. That is who you are, how you live, and more importantly, how you see yourself. And this is really why I love what I do inside Built to Last. We are absolutely obsessed with lasting change, because I think there's nothing more disempowering than looking a certain way, feeling a certain way, and performing at a certain level, and then slowly falling backwards, especially if you've invested time, money, effort, and had or given lots of sacrifice to creating that outcome that you couldn't sustain. So what I want to take you through today is a simple exercise that I did at one of our events in Dubai a few weeks back, that is simple, it's not long-winded, that I think will help give you a little bit of perspective on identity if you've never really put pen to paper on this, or ask yourself enough how you see yourself, okay? Because I think everyone in their heart has a clear expectation on what their dream body would look like, what their dream level of confidence would feel like, but they either haven't been able to sustain it, or they don't know what to do to get closer to that aspirational identity. Because you can have the best plan in the world, the best training plan in the world, know exactly what to eat, know exactly how many hours sleep you should be getting, but you're just not following through. And from my experience, it's a belief issue, it's an identity issue. So what do we do? What I encourage you to do is this. If you listen to this, and you still listen to this episode, and you know there's more inside of you, you know there's another level, mentally, physically, emotionally. The first thing I believe you should do is get a pen and paper and write a minimum of 5 words saying the words I am. Saying the words I am. And ask yourself the question, before you finish the sentences attached to the words I am, who am I? Your current identity, that is. If I was to ask you, or you were to ask yourself, who am I? How would you currently describe yourself? Would you describe yourself using the words I am as, I am healthy, I am strong, I am confident, I am energized, I am enough? How do you actually describe yourself? Not when no one else is around, when it's just you, your thoughts, your feelings. Who are you? And I think there's a lot of people who don't take enough time to evaluate that. We just pass from day to day, week to week, without any thought of checking in with who am I and how does that make me feel? Am I happy with how I currently see myself? And I've had massive challenges with this, as I explained on previous podcasts. During my football days, I described myself or attached my whole identity to being a footballer many, many years ago, when deep down it was what I did, not who I was. And I think a lot of people who are asking themselves this question right now of who am I, they just automatically assume or describe themselves as a businessman, as a plumber, as a investor. And that might be true. But I think that one of the biggest problems that holds business owners, entrepreneurs, and CEOs back from going to that next level with their physique or level of confidence they want is their whole identity is packaged around their job. And look, generally speaking, a large part of what you do if you run your business will probably be a part of who you are, and that's okay. But what I want you to do in this exercise is really brutally, honestly ask yourself, who am I right now? Using the words I am. The reason the words I am are so important, it really, really conditions into your subconscious actually who you are. And what I want you to do as you go through that exercise of who am I, out of that current identity list, how many are you actually happy with? How many of them make you feel good and how many of them make you feel not so good? For example, as I shared at the event, and this might hit hard, in relation to your health and your body, if you're overweight, if you're out of shape, if you're not fit, some of those I am statements might be, I am fat, I'm overweight, I'm unhappy with how I look, I am low on self-esteem. Make sure there's a couple of them that are descriptions of your physical identity. And if you're not happy with them, this is when we then move on to the next list, which is who do I desire to be? Basically, future identity. Everyone, even if having a six-pack, being fit, being strong, smashing high roxes, etc., even if that's not your goal, I believe everyone has an expectation of how they want to look, how they want to feel, and how they want to see themselves physically. Everybody does. But write a list using the words I am that goes through who do I desire to be using the words I am. How many I am statements from your current identity that you're happy with would you move forward to your identity statements of who you desire to be? Now, if you're listening to this and you are totally happy and content with how you currently see yourself, then you're on track, then you're winning. So if that's the same list, on that same list of who you desire to be, keep conditioning that. But I'd probably challenge you at some point, if not in the near future, you're probably going to want to expand your identity in some way, whether it be physically, emotionally, mentally, or maybe even professionally. That's a sign of growth. And growth is spiritual need, don't forget. Right? You have to continually expand your identity. Otherwise, we go backwards. But if there are certain things in your heart around your physical and your emotional identity, or you see something in someone else that you really, really like, and you think, God, I wish I could be as confident. I wish I could be as successful. I wish I could be as wealthy. I wish I could be a better parent, a better partner. Have some fun with this list. Basically, what do you feel is missing from your current identity? And write that down. Write that down with meaning and feeling. And this is something I would continually do if you journal, or even if you don't journal, that would say out loud. One of the most powerful things you can do if you're trying to expand your identity and go to a totally different level with how you see yourself is putting the reps in with these I am statements. And I know you've got to follow through with action, as I'll come on to in a second, with the next part of this exercise that you can do. But talk as if this identity is already who you are. So for example, if you are someone that isn't as confident right now about your body or about yourself, simply write and talk out loud, I am confidence, I am energy, I am someone with an amazing body, I am healthy. Talk as if it's already happened, because what you're doing then is create a vision of your best future self. Whereas a lot of people get stuck because they don't expand that initial vision, even if it is a target. And the good news with this is, I guarantee you've already done it. I guarantee you've already done it in your career. Many people, when they're doing this exercise or when they're talking about their identity, one of the I am statements they would say is in relation to their career. So for example, if you're a dentist, I can almost guarantee that if I was to ask you, who are you? One of the first things you're going to say is, I am a dentist. Now, at some point, that was just a target and an aspiration. You didn't come into this world as a dentist, or whatever career status you currently have. At some point, that was only a dream. That was only a goal. And then you would have had to put the work in, have the coaches, have the mentors, have the roadmap to create that physical, that professional identity, And if you've done it in one area, you can do it in another area. So if you're someone listening to this and you're not happy with your physical identity or your emotional identity, have some fun with it. Plant the seed. And then we can put the ingredients in to let that flourish and to create that identity. Now, the second part of this exercise that we went through, and I encourage you to do too, is have some identity reminders. Because I genuinely think people forget. People forget who they're trying to become. People forget, this sounds madness, but I know this to be true because we have these challenges with our clients. They forget the physical identity they're working towards. Because when someone is out of pain a little bit, where they've dropped a little bit of fat, dropped a little bit of weight, if that's if that was a goal, they're out of pain. So there's not as much emotional consequence or discomfort, but they're still not where they want to be. And it's because they haven't reminded themselves enough of that physical expectation, identity target that they were chasing in the first place. So what I want you to do now is go through these. There's 7 or 8 sentences that I encourage you to write down and finish the sentence. So the first one is going to be emotional consistency. I've spoke about this before, but if you want to have a certain physical identity, you have to have emotional consistency. I'll say this again because it's so important. If you want to reach a certain target with your physical identity, your physical shape, you must have emotional consistency. So a great sentence to write down or even speak, whatever you prefer, is this. The daily habit or ritual that keeps me emotionally consistent is. Basically, what is the thing, what is the habit, what is the ritual that keeps you emotionally consistent? Is it journaling? Is it breathing? Is it simply training? Is it going to sleep on time? What is the daily habit that when you do it, you are more emotionally consistent? Your state's in a better place, your mindset's in a better place. Because remember, if you're emotionally consistent, your decision making, especially around food, training, movement, is going to be better. And that's going to help contribute towards that physical identity you're working towards. The next sentence is around beliefs. Now, beliefs, they shape everything. They really do. If someone has a current belief that they can't achieve a great body or be in great shape or perform at a certain level, they're going to make that right. Your habits are going to be aligned to the standard of your beliefs. The beliefs shape everything. They shape absolutely everything. So a great sentence is this: in order to live with the health, confidence, and life I desire, the beliefs that will take me there are, and then finish that sentence. So in order to live with the health, confidence, and energy, the life I desire, the beliefs that will take me there are. Are your current beliefs helping you create the health, the confidence you want, or not? What new beliefs do you need to have? What new beliefs do you need to have to create the health, the confidence, and the life you want? Are your current beliefs moving towards that or not? What beliefs are outdated? What new beliefs need to be created? Then the next identity reminder is skill. Finish this sentence. The skill that will elevate how I see myself is. When you've developed skills, you naturally see yourself as more valuable in that given area. It breeds confidence. So for example, if you have a physical identity that is a level up from where you currently are, ask yourself what skill is likely to create that. For many people, they might need to develop the skill of training with better quality and more intensity. For many people, it might be developing the skill of discipline. Discipline is a skill. If you develop the skill of more discipline, the likelihood is that your habits, and in particular food choices, are going to be more aligned to the expectation of how you want to look. But what is the skill that's going to help elevate how you see yourself? The next one, identity reminder, is discipline in itself. Write this sentence and finish it. If I wanted to stay the same or go backwards, I would lack discipline with. Basically, if you didn't want to create that physical identity you want or that emotional identity you want, what would you lack discipline with? Then if you know there is a certain thing you would lack discipline with that would sabotage the identity you're trying to create, don't do it, or do it less at least. It's absolutely staggering from my understanding, all the years of coaching, where people have an expectation of an identity, know what they shouldn't be doing, but still do it. For many people, it's over-consuming excessive sugar, excessive real food, drinking lots. So if you know that this thing you're lacking discipline with is sabotaging that body, that confidence you want to live with, then it's a choice. And I would say, without telling you how to live, you've got two choices. You're going to keep doing those habits, those behaviors that are slowing you down in pursuit of that identity, or you just lower your expectations. Lower your expectations of your physical identity, because there's going to be nothing more disempowering than not following through on the things you know you should be doing on a consistent basis. Nothing drains confidence more than saying, I want to look a certain way, I want a certain level of confidence, but then you don't do what you're supposed to be doing towards that. The next one, as an identity reminder, is around values. Great sentence to finish is this: my highest values I must align my decisions and behavior to are. Remember your values. Your values aren't what you say they are, they're revealed by how you live. So if you're not sure what you currently value, look at your calendar and what fills that calendar up most. For many people listening to this, if you're a business owner, entrepreneur, CEO, etc., you're going to value business, your relationship, and your children, and making money for them. So if you know your values, how can you align your decision-making and behavior to them more in relation to identity? The next one is your environment. Now, I've hammered this home on so many podcasts, so many guest podcast spots, but environment is everything. There's going to be nothing that's going to help expand your identity more than environment. You can use other people to help expand identity, as it provides hope, enthusiasm, and a different way of thinking and doing if someone has an identity that deep down you would like to have. And then you have physical identities, of course, that shape your behavior. We're going to have environments that help us eat better, train better, think better, basically do better. And we're going to have environments that don't help us eat better and don't inspire us to train better or think a certain way. But the sentence you need to ask yourself is this: the environment that will help me grow into the best version of myself is, which environment do you think is going to help you grow into that person you're trying to become? Build that body you desire to have, that confidence you wish to live with. Then the next two, we have why and we have a deadline. You've heard me talk about why all the time. And even in Built to Last, I will not take a client on if they can't articulate why it's important they achieve that outcome. They achieve that physical shape. They achieve that leaner body. They achieve that confidence. If you know the why, it will take care of the how. And a lot of people forget their why. It's madness, but we know this with clients. A lot of people forget why. They forget the deeper emotional meaning behind achieving that physical outcome. So the sentence you need to ask yourself around the why is, the biggest reason I must keep developing myself and hit my goals is, what is the biggest reason that you need to keep developing yourself and hit your goals? Think who, and think, what is the core reason for me looking and feeling a certain way? And this is the thing you need to remind yourself on a daily basis. The last one is deadline. Set yourself a deadline, because you could be going through this framework today, this exercise. You know the why, you know the values, you know the skill, you know the beliefs you need to develop, but you don't do anything, right? What can you do right now that's an immediate action that would move you towards, or move you faster towards, the body, the confidence that you want to live with? The sentence I would write or ask myself, or sort of speak out loud, whatever resonates with you, is this: one action I can do with an immediate deadline is. What can you do right now, immediately off this podcast, that would create momentum towards that identity you're trying to create, that would create momentum towards that I am statement that you have created in relation to the person you desire to be? Everyone has a target. Everyone has a feeling they're chasing. When you work, you're doing it for a feeling. When you're trying to create money, you're doing it for a feeling. When you buy nice things, you're doing it for a feeling. Everything we do, including getting a certain haircut and putting makeup on if you're a female, or putting aftershave on, putting a nice watch on if you're a guy, you're doing it for a feeling. You're doing it for a certain level of confidence you believe that thing is trying to give you. Okay? So everyone has an aspiration of who they'd love to see themselves as, but what is one action you can do right now? What is the one thing that you know if you did that would move you faster towards that desired identity? And do it straight away. Now, totally appreciate that as this is an exercise, it might be a lot to take in, but I've got a PDF that I'd happily send to you if you've listened to this to the end and you would love a visual PDF framework that you can go through in your own time, as you might be listening to this in a car, on a walk, on a run. So if you do want this framework that we use with our clients, please drop me a direct message on Instagram or LinkedIn, and it's simply Kirk Miller. and I'll send it right over to you. But please don't brush off this subject. If you are someone who is in your 30s, 40s, 50s, it could even be your 20s. I mean, look, we have a diverse range of people who listen to this podcast. But if you're not happy with how you look, how you feel, or you know there's more inside of you in pursuit of the person you're trying to become, don't ignore the subject around identity. Our identity, or more importantly, that desired identity, is our North Star that deep down in our hearts, we're reverse engineering our habits and the way we're living in pursuit of that identity. And if you're not happy with yours right now, or if you know there's more inside of you, do the work on this. It's as important as tracking your calories, getting your steps in, putting your sessions in. I guarantee you'll be more consistent if you know where you're aiming and what you need to do in pursuit of that journey. So, as always, please don't hesitate to message me, and I'll see you next time.